Okay, it says I'm live. YouTube should send me a notification shortly telling me I'm live. I thought there it is. I am live. I thought I'd pop on a few minutes early. We have 2 minutes to go to the open. Futures are trying to find an opening price. They are going to open red. So far, it looks like it's going to be down 62 points, but it's just trying to find its opening. I think it'll open lower than that. As far as energy goes, it looks like Americans will be paying. It hasn't opened yet, but looks like at least 6 cents more per gallon in the morning as you head to work and fill up. But this is, I imagine, what you voted for: higher energy and higher food prices. Trump will deliver on that. I'm being facetious, of course. Based on where futures are, it looks like U.S. gasoline is going to open higher. U.S. oil is going to open higher. We're not going to get anything on. Well, we might get the grains at 6 o'clock. It looks like it's wanting to price, and your beef prices, they're going to go up. So let's see what happens there. Let's give it, before I answer any questions, I've already made a couple currency trades here. I grabbed the Canadian. I'll tell you what price I did it at. I did $500,000 at 147.38, and I did 250,000 on the peso at 21.2291. And they're sort of hanging out there right now. 21.84 on the peso, 147.36 on the Canadian. We'll see what happens. I'm fading this. Whatever this is, I seem to think that Tuesday doesn't make sense to me. Why Tuesday? I think you need Monday. So there we are. We are now live. Let's have a tour. Futures down 100 big red points: 103, 104, 106, 111, 112. Well, this is what Trump promised, right? Lower portfolio values, higher gas prices, higher food prices. You are getting it. Where is gas? You're going to open up right now. Your gas price should jump by 8 cents a gallon tomorrow morning nationwide. Higher in the northern states, probably some 15 or 20 cents in the northern states. Your southern states, actually your mid states, would probably be about 9 cents. Your southern states, Louisiana, Mississippi, down there, and your northern states, 9 cents and still going. 10 cents and still going. So run to the pumps now before it resets if you need to fill up. Yeah, you're over 10 cents a gallon now. And let's go back to futures here. We're down 116. 116. I can't trade yet, not till 8 o'clock, because single stock names aren't trading till 8, and I do want to trade out of some things. Our currencies are holding tight. I got the two charts up here, and they're holding tight. But man, did they adjust? The Canadian at 147.38. Peso still weakening, 220, 225. Big moves, big moves. Let's hit a few questions. I'm really going to stick with just the questions that are related to, how do we deal with this? What do we think, or what do I think is going to happen? How am I positioning myself as far as single stock names? I saw some questions about AMD and things. I'm going to try to avoid those. I really want to stick with the theme tonight because I think a lot of people are probably looking at this. If you were short beta, you're having a good time. If you were long, this is ugly. I would not look for any resolution of this tonight. If there's going to be a resolution, my bet is it's going to be after the market close tomorrow. Let's have a look at duration. We haven't looked at that. Here I am pleasantly surprised, confused and surprised. ZB, the long bond, is actually positive. Not by much, but it's actually green. The 30-year. The 10-year is, well, it's red, slightly red. But what confuses me is ZQ is actually, the implied rate is actually going up on ZQ, meaning no rate cuts, or rate cuts are being priced out. So the inflation story is overweighing the impact on growth story. But why the long end? Why the long end behaving the way it's doing, the way it is right now? That's curious. So I do have a long position in ZQ. My bet is that you're going to get more than 2 rate cuts. And if you get 2 rate cuts, January ZQ right now is pricing in, where are we on January? 96.07, 393. It's pricing in 40 basis points. It's a little early for me to grab that. If I see ZQ, January ZQ, peak below 95, I will pick some up. But I am impressed with ZB, the long bond. I am impressed with that. Nat gas, jump of 22 cents. So if you're in the northern states and you need to heat your home, you will pay more. 10 cents a gallon on gasoline, $2.30 a barrel on oil. We knew that would happen. Gold, if you have exposure to gold, thumbs up on that one. I do. Gold is holding its own. Copper, not so much. And let's hop over here. Grains aren't going to open till later. Same with cattle. That doesn't open till tomorrow, I think. Down 110 points. Russell down 3%. Russell's down 3%. S&P's down 1.8%. Bitcoin down 4.23%. All right. Let's hit some questions here and see what we have. Let's scroll up. Are Trump tariffs a strategic mistake? To determine if it's a mistake, we first have to figure out what the goal is, right? So I guess the most charitable thing we can say, and the easiest thing we can say, is he made a promise, he kept the promise, left it till Tuesday, used IEPA to get it done in a very stretched way. Sure, you can declare an economic emergency, but usually you target specific things to hit energy, to hit the auto industry. That's a stretch. So I think maybe he might be hoping a judge blocks it so he can say, I did it, much like the judge blocked he suspended all payments. And a judge blocked that and they revoked it. You didn't hear much after that other than he called the judge not a very good judge, a loser judge. Well, he did the Trump thing, right? The charitable thing is that he's not this dumb. He doesn't want to do this. He did it in a way that leaves it open for it to be overturned. China said they are going to file something with the WTO. I'm sure Canada and Mexico have some recourse under the USMCA, and I think he left it till Tuesday to give him give somebody the opportunity to stop him. Let's see if that's the case. That's the most charitable thing. The most dangerous thing is that he thinks that he can bring Canada to its knees and make it the 51st state. It's just not going to happen. I mean, look at countries that actually go to physical war, where lives are lost. It's years. You think an economic fight for 3 months is going to do it? It's going to be a drawn-out, ugly war, and our uranium will go somewhere else. That's going to be a problem. At some point, the energy will go somewhere else. That's going to be a problem. We haven't even seen what Doug Ford wants to do with electricity imports into the U.S. He said he would cancel all electricity imports. That's going to be a big deal. No more American alcohol on the shelves of whatever government-run stores there are. Florida can hit that one hard. That's Trump's home state. If that's the end goal, this is the first volley. We can't say it's a mistake yet. We have to see how it plays out, but it's the wrong tactic to use. It's a hostile takeover. Now, he's a corporate guy for the most part. I'll be charitable there. You know that you always get a smoother and better deal when you approach management first. And if you can't get anywhere with management, if you can't get anywhere with the board, then you go hostile. You cross over them and you go to the shareholders, but you offer the shareholders a good deal. Trump just gave everybody a bad deal. So as far as if that's the end goal, the opening negotiation tactic is very bad. If you want to unite a population, attack them. Right now, Canada is not divided. It is united almost across the board. There isn't the left and the right anymore. There isn't the Trudeau and the Poilievre factions anymore. There's just Canadians. If you want to unite a population, attack them. It was the wrong move, I think. But again, what do you think his end game here is? All right, depending on what his end game is, it could be a mistake. It could harm the U.S. economy. It will harm the U.S. economy. To have this idea that you can invoke tariffs on two of your closest trading partners that make up a significant amount of trade and suffer zero downside and only upside is pure fantasy. I know we have some Trumpers out there. I've seen them in the comments. For the Trumpers out there, you have been lied to. There is no way to invoke tariffs on a bunch of countries and you not pay the bill for it. There is no way. The tax is on you. Yes, we're going to suffer through lower demand, but the tax is on you. You're paying the very thing you're cheering for. Let's just see what your gas bill is going to be tomorrow. 8 cents. 8 cents a gallon. We'll see what happens over the next couple hours. Yeah, I will pass on that. Do you see a probability of Trump announcing further retaliatory tariffs tomorrow? Well, he did say that if either country attempts to retaliate, it would get even worse. That's a bully. I don't know if you ever remember grade school where the bully says, is punishing you or doing something. If you try to protect yourself, it gets even worse. Right? And that's what he said. But it doesn't start till Tuesday, and all the retaliation doesn't start till Tuesday as well. So at this point, there is no trade war yet. There's just the opening salvos of a trade war, and maybe seeing what the other side has in their hand, what cards they're going to play. Maybe he needed the day to have that. I don't know. If this is the real thing, then on Tuesday he'd probably announce more. Which means that just be more retaliation. There is no winning here. It is degrees of losing. Canada will lose a lot, but the US will lose too. There is no winning here. It's all just degrees of losing. If you're in the market and you know how to play this is beautiful. I'm short IWM, so I am hoping for a bloodbath tomorrow in small caps. I will cover my short position, and thank you very much. I don't mind paying more for a little bit of orange juice after that. I am long gold. Gold is working out fine. I think the currencies will recover. TLT looks like it's working out. My short positions and my long positions are not quite balanced, but balanced enough. I'll do okay, and I'll take advantage of what's going on there. So for people like me, this is a gift. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt me. you mentioned monetary will now take a backseat to the fiscal. In that sense, if we see the Fed accelerate rate cuts due to a trade war, would it be enough to support the market? I don't know. As of right now, I'm not betting that we have a trade war. The bets that I'm making is that this will end before Tuesday morning, because I still can't square why Tuesday. It's not enough time for companies to find a way around it. If you're serious about it, why not just do it right away? Why not do it right away? Why Tuesday morning? Why do you need Monday for? If you were thinking a judge would block it, do it right away. You can get a judge out of bed in the middle of the night. That's not a problem. I mean, if there's something to block, a judge will block it. Something. I don't think he's serious. I think this gives him optionality. If the market really tanks on Monday, if it's an ugly, ugly day, I think he'll find some reason to say, okay, we're going to hold off a bit. Canada and Mexico, they come begging to me. They're on their knees. It's pathetic. I mean, look at them. So we're going to hold it off for a while. But they've been treating us very badly, very badly. We're going to renegotiate this deal. It gives them the optionality to get out of it. But if the market decides to look past this tomorrow and go green on the idea that it won't happen, if he is serious, then they are almost making it happen. Uncertainty. Now, here's the nice thing about this type of market is if you are trying to make a directional bet, do I go long? Do I go short? This is brutally difficult to do because you have to game this out. And you have to try to figure what side do I want to be on? And only one side is right. There aren't shades of right. It's not as if, I'm going to buy DuPont and hold DuPont and it goes up 10%, but the market's up 20. Well, that wasn't the best thing to do. It wasn't like I'll still be okay even if I'm wrong. No, this is one of those situations where if you're on the wrong side, you will not be okay if you're playing direction. But if you're neutral and you're playing the volatility, these are gifts. This is beautiful. I can't wait to see the premium in the options. I'm hoping that this continues on. I really am. S&P still down 108, still holding its ground. The Canadian drifting back down again. 3% on the Russell. Gold slightly positive, copper slightly negative, aluminum slightly negative, silver slightly positive, 0.68, best performer out there right now. Palladium and platinum both negative. Energy both positive. And the long bond starting to sell off. The 10-year yield is higher. And ZQ, the implied rate, going up. Well, let's see what happens. Let's get to more comments here. AMD, not going to talk about that. This is actually pretty good. What's the difference between a gamma trade and a vega trade? Aren't both volatility trades? True, both are volatility trades. But one uses the underlying stock to make its trade. That would be the gamma trade. If you're benchmarking to a fixed point, which you can benchmark, depending if you're long or short, you benchmark to an option, to a delta in an option. Whereas a vega trade, you're playing the volatility itself. That's hard to do because you have to be directionally right on the volatility. Is it going to go higher from here or is it going to go lower from here? If you think volatility's peaked and it's coming down, you can sell options. Risk reversals are great to do in that situation, but your trade is mostly in the options. For gamma, your trade is mostly in the underlying benchmark to an option, which is the better way to do it because you don't care what direction it goes in at that point. So you don't have to say, I think it's going up, I think it's going down. All you have to say is, it's going to move. I don't know which way it's going to move, but as long as I stand in one place, I'll be okay. So the analogy I use, if you're trying to play Vega is you're sort of looking for your friend in the mall, and you're circling the mall trying to find your friend. You got lost, and you're just going to walk around till you find them. Whereas if you're playing Gamma, you stand in one place and you let your friend come to you, right? No matter where your friend is, in time, your friend will come to you, right? So that's sort of the way I look at it: is stand in one place and let the market tell you what you're going to do by watching the delta, as opposed to saying, "Oh, I think volatility is going up. Ah, no, it's going down. Oh, no, it's going up now." Trying to guess direction is difficult. Trying to guess that there's going to be volatility and I don't know what direction, that's easy. That's easy. 4 weeks ago, for the first market outlook of the year, the themes that I put out, theme number one is volatility everywhere. This is going to be the last 2 years you could have called investment years. Those were years where you buy and hold and the market went up. This is going to be a trading year. Whenever you have volatility, you're going to have a trading year. So this will, I think, be a great year to benefit traders. If it is your claim to be a red Monday, what sector ETS indices would be on your shopping list? Well, it depends on it. It doesn't. What you go shopping for does not depend on what tomorrow looks like. Tomorrow will be done by the time you get to it. Whatever's going to happen will open that way. The damage will be done. It's what you think is going to happen next. So if you think that this is the beginning of something really long and ugly, and S&P is probably on its way to 5,000, 4,000 throughout the year because Trump won't give up, because he doesn't like to lose and he's going to win and he's going to make his point no matter what. If you think that he's just going to double down, that no matter what happens, he's going to double down. And even if the market is dropping, he'll come out and tell you it's going up. No, it's going up. It's going up. Everywhere I look, people are telling me all sorts of things. It's going up. Look. It's going to go up. It'll be over by the weekend and it's just going to go up. He'll just tell you it's going up. If you think that's him, that he's just going to double down on it and the market's going down, what would you do tomorrow? Nothing. You wouldn't buy a single thing. You'd move to cash. But if you think that this is the opening gamble, and it's just a gamble and it'll be pulled back just to say that he did what he did, to say I fulfilled my promise. I forced Canada and even if Canada and Mexico don't offer anything new, he'll still say they did. Even if they didn't come begging, he'll still say they did. I mean, he just says it, right? So fact is whatever Donald Trump says it is. If you think that's going to happen, then you would go shopping. And you'd probably, I'd be shopping for, I'd probably cover my small cap short or more of my small cap short tomorrow. I'd probably buy more ZQ. Where are we on the January 96.06? I see 95.99. I'm going to jump on that. I'd probably be load up more ZQ. Duration, I'd probably grab something there. And as far as sectors go, probably short energy. That would be a good question as to what sector would you go into. And if you have no opinion about what sector you'd go into, I probably wouldn't touch anything on beta, because we still have the problem that S&P is still 22 times forward earnings with heightened uncertainty, and a president who is unchecked by Congress so far. So for all intents and purposes, America does have a dictator right now, because there is no Congress. It's just the White House until Congress steps up. Yeah, I don't know that I would touch SPY. I'd probably, the most I would do is cover my short position on IWM. And probably play the currency. I think the trade, if this is all fake, the trade is in the currency. The trade is on the peso and the Canadian. That would be where the trade is. Nice headline. What else we have here? Tariff wars would impact the mortgage space. Agency Arbor Annaly. Well, it wouldn't be good for Arbor if the 10-year continues to climb. If the 10-year starts moving towards 5%, that's going to be negative for ABR. ABR needs a lower 10-year. So that would not be good for ABR. Agency and Annaly, they hedge interest rate risk and they lever up the spread. So the question would be, would this increase the spread between MBS and the 10-year? I have a hard time seeing that because I don't know what would be tariffed that would change the spread. It may change the level of mortgage activity in the market. If the Fed decides to start selling their MBS to buy treasuries to control the long end of the curve because rates are threatening to go too high, that's going to be negative for them as well because that'll put price pressure on MBS, which will widen the spread. Hard to say right now. It's usually you have leaders that usually follow a dictum for the economy of do no harm. This is a decision that specifically does harm. It just doesn't make any sense. There were other ways. There could have been other ways around it. Rather than the stick, you could have used the carrot. There could have been other ways around it that made more sense. The other argument is if you're going to extend the tax cuts, well, let me back up. Let me state this first. Every single penny a government spends must come from you. At some point, somewhere, sometime, it must come from you. This is not government debt. This is taxpayer debt. All of you who are in the US right now, all of you, this is all of your debt. This is taxpayer debt. That's how it's going to be paid for, is from the taxpayer. A tariff is a tax on you. Canadians don't pay the tariff. A Canadian company may lose some volume because demand drops, but they don't pay the tariff. They just suffer. But they don't pay. You pay the tariff. So it could be that we got to charge our citizens more. We got to get the money out of their pockets somehow. We have to. That's how we pay back the debt. Every American has to pay it back. We have to extract it from you somewhere. Why not here? Why not here? And we'll wrap it up in a nationalist package so you can all cheer with your fist in the air, USA, USA, while you pay more for gas, you pay more for food, you pay more for borrowing rates, and you pay a higher tax per household because now it's going to be smuggled into the price of the vehicle you buy, of the house you buy, of the goods you buy, of the food you buy, of the gas you buy. It'll all be smuggled into there. Somebody had said, hey, under McKinley, tariffs worked out wonderfully. Yeah, because there was no income tax. You see, Costa Rica has that. No income tax in Costa Rica, but there's a 30% duty on everything coming in. So you agree to pay more for what you buy. Vehicles are 100%, by the way. You agree to pay more for what you buy. In exchange, you don't pay income tax. The taxes are there. They're just in different places. So if you want to pay more tax, you spend more. I agree with that. If you're going to hit me with a consumption tax, take away my income tax. I'm good. I'm good with that. Because then I can choose the level of taxes I pay by the level of consumption I engage in, right? If I want to buy a $500,000 car, well, then I will, that instead of $250,000, I'll pay $500,000. I pay $250,000 in tax. In Canada, to buy a $250,000 car, you have to make $500,000 before tax because it's a 50% tax, and then you go buy your car. It's the same thing. Either you pay it in income tax and go buy your car, or you pay it when you buy the car. If I don't buy the $250,000 car in Canada, I still got to pay the $250,000 in tax. If I don't buy the $250,000 car in Costa Rica, I don't pay a penny in tax. I like that system better. So if this is the plan in the US, then you must cancel the income tax, not keep the income tax is low. In other words, to extend it to keep it low, you're going to pay this tax. In other words, you're paying the tax cuts are not rolling off. They're just showing up in different places. That's all that's going on is you are being taxed. But because of the tight integration of so many supply chains, if this goes through on Wednesday, you can look for a lot of auto workers to lose their jobs. Now you lose that tax base. So now you got to come up with a tax somewhere else to make up for the tax you just lost over there. So now you got to raise tariffs even more. But that's going to cause more job losses. So you got to raise tariffs even more. It's a fight you cannot win. It only works if you raise tariffs and no change in demand and other countries don't retaliate. Not going to happen. It's simply not going to happen. If you have no income tax, tariffs are a great way to raise revenue. But when you have an income tax, tariffs are yet another tax on top of the tax that you're already paying already. So it's just bait and switch. We're going to lower your taxes here, lower your taxes here. Oh, but you're going to pay higher taxes here. It's a bait and switch. You've been lied to. You're going to pay more. And that debt, by the way, for Americans, it's all yours. You got to pay it. The government has got to get it from you somehow. Somewhere, somehow, they got to get it from you. They got to get it from you. So why not here? You could make that argument that this is just part of, sneaking a tax in that you're going to have to pay. Let's see if we can find, is CAD headed to 0.5? 0.5 or 0.6, a little over 0.68, a little under 0.68, 0.5. That would be a $2 exchange rate. No, I don't think we've ever been there, and I wouldn't suggest that we're headed there. Doge's cutting $1 billion a day, aiming for $3 billion. Are they? If this happens, plus interest rates fall, how will SPY react? I couldn't make the connection between that and SPY, but it's better to make the connection between that and rates, and from rates to SPY. Are they cutting $1 billion a day? And how are they measuring that billion? Right? Are they saying we just saved, $1 million a month for the next 20 years? That has a present value of $1 billion. We just saved $1 billion. Meanwhile, it would take 20 years to actually realize all that. Are they saving $1 billion a day? Or is it the present value of all of these small little things that add up to $1 billion? We've got to be careful about how they're measuring that. Do you believe owning an Airbnb? Oh, well, let's pass on that. Pass on that. Let's go right to the bottom and jump down to some of these. Even if tariffs don't go through on Tuesday, people are already looking for alternatives for American product services. Well, this is sort of the nonlinear outcome you have to think about. If you force Canada to find other routes and other places to sell to, we will. Canadian companies will. Canadian companies sell to American companies because they're willing to buy. It's that simple. If you put impediments in the way, they'll find a way around it, and then we won't need Americans. And then you'll have to go looking somewhere else for your supply. And it will just be more expensive because now you have to transport things over further distances. There is a reason why things are the way they are, is because when you leave markets to themselves, they will find the most efficient allocation of resources. There's a reason why America doesn't make socks anymore, that they're made in Vietnam or Cambodia or Bangladesh, is because you don't want to pay $87 for a pair of socks made by union labor. Unless you want to pay $87 for a pair of socks made by union labor, then okay. But there's a reason why textiles in the 70s disappeared, because it was a low value added service, and the assets that were deployed there could be deployed for a higher purpose, for a higher level, for a different reason. Do you really want to take real estate space and labor and make socks that would cost you so much? There's a reason why markets left to their own devices find the most optimal way. All politicians can do is mess things up. That's all they can do, is mess things up. Can socks be used as gloves in a pinch? I have. I have. Let's just scroll up a bit here and get some of the questions that I missed. The chat is actually, you know what? I'm just going to stay at the bottom. And if I miss your question, just retype it in. Let's see where we are. ZB futures green. Yeah, they were green. We're down 110 on SPY. Energy still up. ZB still green. I find that I'm glad because that affects TLT. I'm glad, but I find that really interesting. Other emerging markets impact. Well, I think you look to the currencies to see what's going on. U.S. is strong right now. If this is nothing, the U.S. will weaken very quickly. The easiest play on a macro basis on this is not deciding which index or which commodity. It's basically a currency play. I would be short Canada and Mexico right away, more Canada than Mexico against the US on the basis that this is not going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, those will pay off nicely. Other currencies, I think it's collateral damage. They're all weaker only because the US is stronger. The dollar index is up 1.04%, up at 109. That's a trade weighted basket up at 109. Futures pretty much still where they are. Gold is now turning negative. Silver is firmly negative now. It was positive. Energy is still green. Natural gas is still green. Brent is still green. The 10-year yield is higher, but the 30-year kind of flat. I'm kind of impressed with that. I buy expensive stocks willingly. Well, let's see. What do you think about watching Bitcoin as a risk on an asset that displays 24? So that's what I do. If I want to know, how the market is feeling on the weekend, I look at Bitcoin because it is a risk asset. It's not a store of value. It just happened to go up. Anything that goes up could you call a store of value. I watch it as a risk asset because it has a high correlation with risk. And all day Sunday it was ugly. So you sort of knew, or at least a very high suspicion that you were going to open red and very red. Your market update today was a fair bit conspiratorial, and that Trump's main mission may be money. I didn't say that his main mission is money. I said I got a suspicion that if I'm thinking about an end goal, this is something that fits. I didn't say, oh, this is what he's doing. Come on, man. I mean, if you're going to listen with your ears, okay? Don't put in your head what you think I'm saying and then repeat to me what you think I'm saying. Repeat to me what I actually said. I shouldn't have to talk like a professor to a group of first-year students here. Come on, man. I mean, there's so much misunderstanding. Here's another thing that really bothered me as far as misunderstanding goes. And you see this everywhere. Trump had his press conference last week, just to give you an idea of how upsetting it is when people don't listen and people get in their own head what they think you said, and then they repeat it as if that is what you said. So I'm watching Bloomberg after the press conference. This is the press conference where Trump blamed DEI on a bunch of things. And they had this woman on. She goes, well, what Trump is saying is unless you're a white man, you're not qualified for the job. No, that's not what he said. On this one, I had to defend Trump. It's not what he said. What he said is when you pay attention to that stuff, you risk ability. But if you pay attention to ability, you'll get diversity. I mean, no one can say that he hasn't put in place diverse people. I don't think he cares about that stuff to the extent that the left makes him seem to care. But I got upset listening to that because I was like, no, that's not what he said. All you're doing is saying what you think he's saying because you really want him to have said that, so you have a point to make. He didn't say that. He didn't say anything about unless they're white straight men, they're not qualified. I think it was misplaced in using that particular time to rail against DEI and to talk about the election that he lost. I think it was the wrong place. Grow up, dude. But he didn't say that thing. So what you said there, I didn't say that. A bit conspiratorial. I said, if you think about what the end goal is. Now, let me put it to you like this. Having said that, if I said, if you found out that Trump did that, would you say, Trump? No. Or would you say, well, that doesn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what was going on, because my thinking is, why Tuesday? Now I think, well, what if I were short the market? What if I did that and I were short the market? I would need Tuesday to cover my puts, because you can't cover your puts overnight. You got to wait until the day starts trading. I would need Tuesday to cover my puts. On Friday, I would have bought a whole bunch of puts on the SPY that expired Monday. They would have been super, super cheap. And then I would have needed Monday to cover my puts. And I had no intention of carrying through on this, but I had to fulfill a promise. So why not make money at the same time I'm making a promise? If you think that any kind of moral or ethical qualm gets in between Trump and money, you're wrong. Launching a coin before his inauguration, followed by a Melania coin, that's just grift. And then keeping Truth Social and now turning it into a financial services company for banking for conservatives while he holds the office of president, while he has the ability to hurt any competition. Nothing. There is no moral center that gets between him and his money. So when I say that it fits, doesn't mean that I have any evidence or proof. It's just when you think it through, you think, that's what I would do. If that's what I was doing, that's what I would do. Hear it that way. All right. I get this sometimes. Some people say, oh, so what you're saying is this. I mean, I could say something like, I have toast for breakfast. And I guarantee you somebody would come out and say, oh, so what you're saying is you're against waffles? I never said that. Listen to the words I say and understand nuance. Understand, theory building and listen, actually listen. Maybe that was a troll. I don't know. What do you think is the reason that ZB futures are defending well right now? That is interesting. There's an expression that the smart money is in the bond market. Maybe there's some smart money at the end of the curve, thinking that this is not going to happen. But why step in now? Why not let it turn red first? I don't know. It's interesting. It is interesting, but he did threaten how many people did he threaten this weekend? How many countries? He threatened the BRICS about moving away from the US dollar. Maybe there's some foreign buying, or maybe there's the anticipation of foreign buying. So the futures are strong. They wouldn't be buying futures. They'd be buying the underlying bond, and they're not, at least on IB, on Treasury, they're not trading. They won't be trading till tomorrow. Perhaps people are just now pricing in an economic slowdown. I'd like to think that maybe that's what was going on, but look at ZQ. Look at January 2026 ZQ. It's actually pricing out interest rate cuts. 9607, it's actually priced out 5 basis points of cuts. So it's inconsistent, and the 10-year is slightly red. The 30-year is slightly green. Where's the 2-year? Slightly red as well on the 2-year. Well, that would be consistent with ZQ. I don't know what's going on with the 30-year. That's interesting. Do you think China has the ability to put the nail in the coffin for the U.S.? Here's what I think. You got Canada and Mexico that want to push back. This, if it emboldens a few other countries to say, same here, same here, the US cannot fight a trade war on that many fronts. Now, every country will suffer, but collectively, each country hitting the US will get bigger and bigger and bigger. It will. This has no good ending. It has no good ending. So it's hard to think what's in his head on this one. It boggles the mind as to why you would even do this. Now, he has surrounded himself with loyalists, people who will just say yes, sir. So there's no one to check him like there was last time. He learned last time, don't put smart people in place. Put loyal people in place. Loyalty over ability, which is kind of ironic that he's railing against DEI because it's identity over ability when he has loyalty over ability, right? Is there a chance that ZP leads ZQ? ZQ is the Fed funds future. ZB is very market determined. ZQ is Fed determined. Well, Fed determined for now. For now. Give it some time and it will be Trump determined. But for now, it's Fed determined. Cool gaming. Everyone calls this a gaming chair. It's made by a company that makes seats for racing cars. It's absolutely solid, super solid. Maybe gamers use this kind of chair because they're sitting in a chair for hours on end. But so do I when I write my screens. My Cintiq is down here and I write screens. Sometimes I'm here for 3-4 hours. But you need a chair that has this strong back support. And most chairs have these fixed arms. These have arms that come up and down, so you can push them straight down and you can come right under the desk so that the desk is right up against you so that you don't have to keep leaning forward. Since I got this, I sleep better at night, and my sciatic nerve, which is the nerve at your lower back that drives down into your legs, I haven't felt that at all. Do you think Congress will step in soon to stop potential trade war? The tariffs, at least the Canadian ones, are targeting red states. And what you need to do is not target all the red states. That's not going to work. You need to pick 3, 4, or 5 red states and put everything against those red states. And that's apparently what Mexico is doing and what Canada is doing. I think there was 4 or 5 red states that were being targeted, and those specifically. And you need to turn a number of Congress people. That's all you need to do. And target the red states and target everything at them. Deliver as much pain as you can to each of those states. Don't spread it out. Focus it and concentrate it. Like I said in the market outlook, when faced with an opponent that you can't beat, your goal is to focus on one part of their body and break it. Whether it's a knee, whether it's an elbow, whether it's a shoulder, but all of your focus and all of your energy is on one part of the body. So as far as the retaliation is concerned, the focus is what's going to hurt, right? There is some talk about putting 100% tariffs on Teslas. I just don't know that that's going to do much, because I don't think Trump will listen to Musk because he's not elected. But he will feel the pressure of Congress people who are going to lose in the elections in 2 years, right? Why not Herman Miller? I've tried Herman Millers before. I don't like the way they're built. I just was never comfortable in them. I've sat in. Listen to my language. I've sat in over 100 chairs, trying to find a comfortable chair, because it's almost impossible for me to find a comfortable chair. I'd go into stores and then I'd just go into the chair section. I'd sit on one chair, and within seconds, nope. And then you sit in one, you go, okay, well, I got to sit here for at least 20 minutes to half an hour. So you take your iPad out and you start reading, right? to see if you can handle it. I've never found one. This one was perfect. I sat in this one. After a while, I forgot I was sitting in it, and I thought, okay. So I bought two, kept one, and gave one to a friend. Said, you got to try this chair. It's fantastic. Is it time to go 100% USD as a Canadian? I don't know the answer to that. Well, I mean, as a Canadian, you need Canadian dollars, so I wouldn't worry about that. I don't know that. I mean, if you're thinking, you mean, you said USD, not US, meaning you're not going to the US, you just want to hold US dollars. I myself would not make that bet at these levels and what's going on. I wouldn't make that bet, no. Yes, ripping at the moment, is it? 100? Well, we're still down 100. That just could be short covering. We're not really going to know until we get to tomorrow. And what's going to happen is you probably get some rally at some point before you get some sell-off. It's what happens tomorrow. Not so much in the morning. Watch 11:30. Or is it 11 right now? I think it's 11:30, right? European close in the US, 11:30. Watch that. And then it's the last half hour that's going to be critical. You know, if you're selling off hard into the close. But I don't know that I would say going from 110 to 100 is ripping hard. That's 10 points. It's not enough to say that. Yeah. Can tariffs be evaded for the short term by running large trades through St. Pierre? Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. Getting it through there. I didn't know that that it was French. That is interesting. I don't know. That's a good question. Should Canada import Chinese EVs? There are Chinese EVs in Costa Rica. A lot of Ubers are Chinese EVs, BYDs. I've driven in one. They're dingy. Like they're cheap. Like you know, when you close the door, the sound it makes, like you can tell they're cheap. They're cheap, but they're cheap. They're meant to be cheap, but they are cheap, right? I haven't driven in a Tesla. I don't know if it has that dingy sound, but it's cheap. But I imagine all inexpensive cars, you know, are sort of cheap that way. It doesn't have the thud, you know, when you close the door and you hear that nice thud. It's cheap. You hear it. Can tariff be already there? Can you please share how you spend a typical day? Typical day, usually up by 6. I review. I look at Barron's. I look at Wall Street Journal. I see if there's anything I need to pay attention to. I have Bloomberg on in the morning. See if anything is interesting. Usually they're not. There's, you know, might be single name movers here and there, but there's usually not a lot to deal with. And then I ask, is there anything that has changed my opinion about anything I have? And if the answer is no, then I get on with my day. I'll still have a screen on, and every now and then I'll just look and I'll see what's going on. But usually it's a key chart that's up, so I can, out of the corner of my eye, see if the chart is moving. Most of the time it doesn't. And then you just get on with your day. I'm still an educator. I still do a lot of work at level 3 in the CFA space, and I still am building out the applied level. Right now I'm working on the understanding insurance video. And you just get on with your day. until you get bored. Then you go down to the gym for a couple hours and come back up, and I eat around 2:30 or 3, my first meal. That's about it. I pretty much do what I want. That's a normal day. Will I be able to trade my Trump MFTs for maple syrup? Did you buy Trump NFTs? Did you see Yi and Bianca? We don't travel in the same circles, so no, I haven't seen them. Do you think Canada still has bright economic prospects given all the challenges and existing domestic issues? Or it has become a third world country? Well, it's not a third world country. It does have challenges. I don't think that 8 years and going on 9 years of the Liberal Party was helpful. I don't think they intentionally tried to destroy the economy, but their policies were in a lot of places anti-growth, anti-investment. So I think that needs to be changed. I think with Polyev that probably will be changed. In a way, Trump, if the tariffs are real, in a way, Trump might be doing Canada a favor by forcing us out of the nest. I mean, when you have a country that so easily buys your stuff, why work hard? I mean, if it was hard to sell to them, we would have went somewhere else already. But being that this is happening now, it opens the door for trade deals with a whole bunch of other countries. So we may make a trade deal with India, and then they will have our uranium. Or we may make a trade deal with Pakistan, and they will have our uranium. We can go anywhere with all the uranium. We don't have to give it to the U.S. And if you look at U.S. imports of uranium, it's almost 100% from Canada. Well, get it from somewhere else, or don't run your nuclear facilities. One of the two. It doesn't matter I don't think it matters to Canada. It's not as if you can't sell that stuff. Sold it to the U.S. because it just happened to be right there. But if we got to walk an extra block to sell it, we'll walk an extra block to sell it. It's no big deal. Selling silver, that's no big deal. Selling copper, that's no big deal. Selling zinc, none of that stuff is any big deal. It was just cheaper to ship it to the U.S. and it was cheaper for the U.S. to ship it in from Canada. It was cheaper to source it from Canada, so they did. Well, you want to pay more? That's okay. We can sell it anywhere. We can sell our timber anywhere. The biggest export, I believe, right now is Vietnam. Biggest furniture making with real wood is, I think, from Vietnam. And we don't even have to cut them into logs here. Cut them into 2x4s or any kind of shape here. You just export full logs. Nice and cheap, nice and easy. There's lots of places we can sell natural resources to. It just so happened the U.S. was the closest place. So by doing this, it may force Canada to set up its own refineries, which when we spent a lot of money in the Great Recession, why we didn't build 6 refineries is beyond me. Why did we not build refineries? We have the oil. Why are we taking it out, shipping it thousands of miles away, then shipping gasoline back when we could just refine it here? Well, what are we doing? For God's sake. Maybe this forces us to do something. And if it forces us to be self-sufficient in 4 years when the U.S. comes back and says, okay, it'd be, it's kind of like, well, we're sort of seeing someone else now. You said you didn't want to see us anymore, so we moved on. Like, you run the risk of us getting into a relationship with someone else, and maybe that ends up being better for us. Maybe we grow as a person. If you think about it outside of a relationship, maybe the relationship was was keeping us stunted in our growth. Maybe that's why we had such low productivity, because we just relied so much on the fact that they buy it, they want it, give it to them. Why work so hard? You have to be careful about the type of enemies you create when you push your friends away, right? Let's see. ASX down 2%. Yeah, it's could these type of dispute measures lead to regime change in the U.S.? No. No, that I think it would be a step too far at this point in time. No. In case you're wondering what I'm drinking, went to Costco today, and I normally pick up Fresco when I'm there. I just like the taste of it. It's refreshing, and it doesn't have caffeine, so you can drink it late at night. But I said no, and I bought this instead. There's me doing my part. There's one less case of soda pop from America. One more case of soda pop from Canada. Not as refreshing as Fresca, but you know what? I'll do my part. This is the sacrifice. I hope you Canadians are listening. This is the sacrifice I'm making. I'm drinking ginger ale, Canada Dry ginger ale. And I believe that for some reason, there's something different. The Canadian version has the natural flavor, but the American one has the real ginger. Or is it the other way? 100% natural flavor. No, the Canadian one. Let's make sure. You got to see that. There it is right there. See, just so that you can see. I don't know. Can you see that? Proudly bottled in Canada. I'm doing the right thing. I'm part of the solution. I'm part of the resistance. There you go. Switch to Canada Dry ginger ale. This is the sugar-free. It's not bad. It's actually not bad. The CEO of Ford daily drives a Xiaomi. Hello. It is not uncommon for automotive executives to drive other car companies' cars. Otherwise, how would you know? Like how could you, like, if you're always just driving your own vehicle, how could you know what the experience is with something else, right? It's if they're doing something, if they're popular, they're doing something right, you got to use their product. You have to. Why? How can you not? When I developed my financial modeling module for the applied level, I used everybody's. Why not? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I see who's doing what to say, well, okay, that's not bad, and this approach is okay, and I don't like this and I don't like that. Why not? Why wouldn't you, right? If you're not using your competitor's product, if you have a company and you're not using your competitor's product, you're leaving a source of competitive information on the table, right? If you're building a website to do something, you should be using other people's websites that are already doing it, right? You should be exploring that. That wouldn't surprise me. Can you comment on how this would affect car? Because I can't figure out in my own head. Rents are coming down in Toronto, and that's the largest city. Rents are coming down, but you got to look at how it's being measured. It's including condos. If you take condos out, rents are not going down. Rents at the apartment level are not going down, but with the condos in them, it makes it appear that rents are going down because they're going down quite a bit. But their rental rate is still way above the average monthly rate of these apartments. With tariffs, the belief is that you'd get unemployment, and with unemployment, you'd have at the margin some tenants who can't pay their rent, and at the margin, you'd have some vacancy increases. That is the thinking. I don't think so. Not to that extent. I don't think so. The apartment REITs, the Canadian banks, Enbridge, the industrial REITs, These for me are long-term holds. They're a great income component in my portfolio, and I'm not looking to trade them. They're long-term holds. I'm comfortable with them. Are you fearful for the economic future of Canada? No, not really. I would be fearful for the economic future of Canada if the NDP won, because the NDP would move towards a more socialist system, not saying they want socialism, but a more socialist system that constrains the free market. Then I worry about the economic future of a country when you constrain the free market, when you constrain the efficient allocation of resources and you try to engineer an allocation, you're going to mess it up. You're going to mess it up. That's where I would begin to fear for the economic future of Canada, is if you have another election and you get another NDP Liberal coalition and you have 4 or 5 more years of the trajectory that you were on. NDP is, I don't think they intentionally mean to be anti-growth, but their policies are anti-growth. Significantly anti-growth. If you know what bothers me is when you look at a chart that says, here's what the top 10% own, here's what the bottom 50% own. Look at that disparity. How can we live in a society with that kind of disparity? But adjust that chart and say, okay, well, let's remove the impact of the top 10%, which includes a lot of business owners. Let's just remove the impact. Let's go back and figure out how much value they added, how many people they employ. Let's remove the impact, and then let's look at how much the bottom 50% own. Let's have a look at that when you remove the top 10%, right? So it would be like Warren Buffett coming into a small village, giving everyone $1 million, and then he sets up a house there, and then looking at the income distribution saying, oh my God, how can we live with this? But get rid of him and everybody else wouldn't have what they have. You get rid of the top performers and everybody wouldn't have what they have. So take any baseball team, football team, hockey team, and get rid of their top performer. They're not going to have the win record they do. Everybody has the win record, and everybody has better stats because of the star. Because of the star. We don't say, oh, this one hockey player has, 60% of all the goals scored. How can we live with this? We need to redistribute. We don't do that. The team wins, and the team gets richer, and the gate gets higher because of the star. Take away the star, you lose all that. Take away the stars of the economy, and you lose all that. So I've had enough of this. Oh, the top 10% own this and the bottom 50% own that. Yeah, but how much of that bottom 50%, how much do they own, would they not own if it wasn't for the top 10% creating the opportunity for them to have that, right? So the other thing you have to look at with the bottom 50% is, well, how much income do they save? How much of what they make do they actually make smart decisions with, or do they just spend everything they make, right? So wealth is what you keep. Income is what you get. Wealth is what you keep. So when you're looking at wealth inequality, oftentimes you're looking at the sum of all the decisions you've made. You're free to save your money. You're free to invest like anyone else. You're free to buy property instead of rent, but 6 streaming services, big screen TV, 5 game consoles, living paycheck to paycheck at the mall all the time. And of course, you got to stop and get your $6 coffees on the way to the mall in your $100,000 truck that you're making $800 a month payments on. The bottom 20%, I can understand. Okay, it's they don't have a lot of skill. Their labor isn't worth a lot. They haven't invested in that, or maybe they don't have the ability to invest in that. But there are programs in place for that. But when you're at the 50th to 70th percentile in income, and you still have no wealth, kind of your fault, right? It's kind of, have a look at the consumption decisions you've made and ask yourself, did that make a lot of sense, right? Take away the top 10% and the bottom 50% would be in abject poverty if the top 10% kept leaving the economy and going somewhere else. Right? So if you have a baseball team, you need a superstar. If you have a hockey team, you need a superstar. If you have an economy, you need a superstar. Is the superstar going to get a better contract? Yeah. That's the point. The team wins because it has a superstar, so you pay for the superstar. The economy wins because it has a superstar, so you pay for the superstar. How come we only look at the economy and spit on successful people for that? Why not look at pro sports teams and take the ones with the big contracts and spit on them and call them evil and vilify them and turn them into demons and let's get society to hate the rich. Why do we not do that with them? Because we understand. We want our team to win. We need superstars. You pay them. We want our economy to win. You need superstars. You pay them. Right? Tell me I'm wrong. I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong. Is there a specific example of one could point towards to back up the top 10% of performers argument? Well, I don't think it takes much evidence to look at. I mean, let's just take Bill Gates. Let's just take Jeff Bezos. Look at what they created. Look how much employment they created. Look at the productivity they enabled with the products they've created. How many authors has Amazon created with EPUB? They were the first ones to do that. How many authors could never get a publisher, ended up becoming really successful because of that? What about Apple? How many app developers did Apple create? How many app developer millionaires exist because Apple created the iPad? Right? So it doesn't take a lot of thinking to figure out. It doesn't take a lot of thinking to figure out. Right? So I don't know that I need to compile a whole bunch of evidence for that. I'm in the top 1%, but I built a business that employed at its peak 15 people. 95% of our revenues came from outside the country. The tax base, so that was dollars that never existed in Canada. So that created a tax base. I employed a bunch of people, which created a tax base. A couple of them got mortgages off of that, which then created consumption for furnishing the house and buying. For all of this contributes to the growth of society and to the incomes. One person, one business, one little tiny business did all that, right? I don't know that you need a big study and a whole bunch of data to prove that point. Just take one at random and think it through, right? What do you think the probability of it's real? It's baffling since it will affect guys like Dave Sachs and Elon too, not just everyday people. As money leaves risk on assets. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but Trump did say, Americans understand that there will be some pain here. Americans understand that it's going to be uncomfortable for a while, but America's going to win. America's going to be number one. It's going to be a gilded age. We're not going to be taken advantage of anymore. We've been a sucker for too long. We're subsidizing Canada. No, Canada's subsidizing the US. It's the other way around. If Americans are buying from Canada, it's because it's cheaper to buy from Canada. Otherwise, why do it? Charity? Otherwise, why do it? If it wasn't cheaper to buy from Canada, I can tell you right now they wouldn't buy from Canada. They'd buy from somewhere else. It's cheaper to buy from Canada, which makes the product cheaper over there, or it makes company margins bigger on that side of the border. So in essence, we are subsidizing Americans. Americans are not subsidizing us. We are subsidizing Americans, right? So, but you know, I don't have a platform big enough to say that. People don't consider you the rich that they want to eat. You're likable, ethical, and your net worth is not comparable to Bezos and the others. But so what? So what? I don't understand. You know who I think wants Bezos, who wants to eat the rich, are people who have in their lives decided that they can't be rich. They want to be. Look, you can lie to whoever you want to lie to. You could say whatever you want in the chat, but look yourself in the mirror and say, I don't want money. I don't want to be rich. I don't want a yacht. I don't want the freedom to fly anywhere in the world and vacation anywhere. I don't want to eat in fine restaurants. I don't want to wear nice clothes. I don't want any of that stuff. I don't want a nice car. I don't want a nice house. I don't want a pool in my backyard. I don't want my own private gym. I want none of that. I want to live in a single one-bedroom apartment, a basement apartment, please, with a bus pass. Like who aspires to that? Everybody wants to be more than what they are. Everybody. Say it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's the first step on your way to success to just admit what you want. Why deny yourself what you truly want? Everybody wants it. Now, there is a line between what you're willing to do to get it with what you want. I agree with that. There are some things I will not do. Other people, there is no line between it. I don't think Jeff Bezos crossed any lines in getting to what he has. I think he built a business and he was viciously competitive in building a business, and he delivered incredible returns to his shareholders. He empowered thousands of entrepreneurs to create businesses on his platform. He lowered the price for thousands of businesses to move to AWS as opposed to all of the independent companies they used to use before. The company we used before we moved to AWS was just, you had to add capacity in these big chunks all the time. And we were always adding capacity, and the cost moved to AWS. Our costs went down significantly. And now we have utility service scale up and down. When you look at how much value the guy created, so what? He's having a good time. Let him have a good time. I have no animosity towards that one bit. He earned it. As far as I'm concerned, when you're thinking about greed, okay, I've given this equation before. You have to put in the numerator how much value you've extracted, and in the denominator, how much value you created. Bezos created way more value than he extracted. Way more value than he extracted. So his greed factor is very low, even though he's rich. I wouldn't call him greedy. He's massively wealthy, but I wouldn't call him greedy. Same with Bill Gates. I would not call him greedy, nor Warren Buffett would I call greedy. But there are some people who will sell you something where the value of what the cost that they extract out of you far exceeds the value. That's greed. Trump University, that was greed. That was grift. The Trump coin, that was grift. Trump is greedy. You want to eat the rich, eat Trump. Trump is greedy because he extracts way more value than he creates. But Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, they're not greedy. They're wealthy because they don't extract more value than what they create. They don't. And it's not just what they create, it's what they enable others to create as well. A con artist. Now there's a greedy person because they create no value, but they extract. Let's eat them. Let's go after them. but to go after the heroes of your economy, right? Wouldn't you rather have 10 more Steve Jobs in the next 5 years? Wouldn't you have rather have 10 more of them? Or would you rather have 10 more Robert Davidsons? You know who Robert Davidson is, eh? That's my point. Who the fuck is Robert Davidson, right? I mean, who the hell is he? What is he like? I just made that name up. Who the hell is that? I'd rather have 10 more Steve Jobs. What would the world look like with more of these people? How much more opportunity could be created? Be careful with the eat the rich. Eat the greedy. Eat the greedy. Respect everyone else, but eat the greedy. And just because you're rich doesn't mean you're greedy, right? Your greed, you measure it in proportion to the value you create. If you create $100 billion worth of value and you extract 5 billion, that's 5%. That's not greedy, right? Let that person have their 5 billion. All the power to you. Great. The people who want to eat the rich are the people who want to be rich but aren't. So they don't want anybody to be rich, right? All right, let's get back to our markets here. Still down 102. Canadian 147.20. Peso still hanging around at 21.21. Metals all negative right now. Everything negative there. So the strength of the US dollar is overpowering that. Energy still positive as it would be. Nat gas up 26 cents now. So heating bills are going up most definitely. And treasuries. Look at that on ZB. I am bloody impressed. Even ZN now is green. ZB up 0.27. And ZQ inching its way back. Bonds are trading now. All bonds are positive. All bonds are green. I got the 20 on the screen. I'm looking at the 2048 green, the 2046s green, the 2041s green. This is the maturity years. Some strips, the 2040 strips and the 2041 strips, all green. These, why am I quoting those? Is because they have the same duration as TLT, right? So I have a bunch of bonds up, coupon bonds and zero coupons in a row on my screen that all have the same duration as TLT. So if I can look at the bonds, TLT is going to be made up of the same portfolio as these, because I mean, what else can you buy in that area? I'm impressed. I'm impressed with duration. So I'm going to win on duration tomorrow. I'm going to win on my short position tomorrow on SPY. Tomorrow might actually be pretty good. All right, let's answer some questions about the thoughts on 2025 housing market after tariffs. I think there's a lot of materials that come either from Mexico or from Canada for house building. Now, Trump is right in the sense that there is plenty of lumber and plenty of trees in the U.S. For the level of housing that's being built. Yes. But the level of housing that's being built is much lower than it needs to be. So if you're going to fix the housing shortage in the regions where it needs to be fixed, there is not enough lumber and trees in the US to get that done. You would need Canadian timber. You would need that. And I believe there is, well, it's our softwood that is imported mostly in the northern states, I believe, because in the U.S., the southern plantations are heavy softwood. The northern plantations are a mix of softwood and hardwood. So it's cheaper just to ship them from BC to Washington State than it would be from the southern plantations up up to the northern states. So it will cost more. There's just no way around that. It will cost more to build new houses. But if you can reduce a lot of the costly regulation and reduce the interest costs on carrying inventory for home builders, then higher cost to build the home, but lower costs in meeting regulatory constraints. Yeah, you just might get through. It might balance out. So I don't know that I would be negative on the housing market. The auto sector is going to hurt. What time is it now? Is it 9? Oh, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, we will see GM open, at least on overnight trading. If you have overnight trading, we'll see GM open and Ford open in 37 minutes. Oh, that's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. Bitcoin down 5% now. By the way, MicroStrategy, I don't know if you followed it last week. Its preferred shares did not do well at all. Didn't price at par. 8% preferreds at 100 moved at 80 for a 10% yield. 80 on a fully diluted basis, still trading at 2 times the price of Bitcoin and not tracking Bitcoin very well. This could be that could be enough to at least push MicroStrategy down to probably a discount to its basic 175 a share from 334. I do have calls that I sold on MicroStrategy. I would like to sell more calls. I don't know if I'll have a chance. Don't mistake wealth for income. There you go. That's true. Bond trade volume is pretty low. 10%. Well, the bond volume is low. How is the I don't have it up, but how is the volume on the futures? Futures just are up now 0.38 on ZB. Even ZF is positive. ZF's the 5-year futures. ZN's the 10-year. If you're looking to add the ticker, ZF is the 5-year, F for 5. ZN is the 10, N for 10. The 2 is ZT, T for 2. And ZB is 30, B for bond. When we say the long bond, it's the 30-year. That's ZB. Or if you want to watch the yield, you could just watch the yield. Type this into your, if you have the tickers, type in 2YY. And you'll see that that is just the 2-year rate. There's 2YY and 10Y. 2YY and 10Y will give you the 2 and the 10. So you can watch just the just the rate. If you're looking at the bond futures price and you're saying, well, I don't understand what's the rate, just type in 2YY. On top of you can put ZT, and then below it put 2YY, so you have the bond, the futures price, and the yield right below it. Right? S&P 500P inflated due to increased share buybacks. Well, I don't know that I would blame share buybacks for it. I mean, it is a support for the price. I don't know that I would suggest that we have a 22 times forward multiple because of share buybacks. Because how do you explain Germany? All right, you have a country that is not doing very well economically. Look at its market. How do you explain the TSX? Again, a country that economically is not doing well, but look at the valuations. It's not just the US. Nothing is cheap in its own currency, right? Nothing is cheap. So it's got to be because there's just a whole hell of a lot of liquidity out there. Although money needs a place to go, money has to sit somewhere. It's even if you just say, oh, it's just sitting in my bank account, it's not doing anything. Your bank is taking it and putting it somewhere. So your bank is investing your money and just not paying you anything on it and making a money market rate on it. So all money everywhere in the banking system, no matter where, is sitting in something somewhere. It's sitting in some security somewhere. So maybe there's just too much of it out there. Don't businesses become so big to the point where no one else can compete, though? So this was a line of thought. Almost 100 years ago. There was, at least in academic circles, the question of, if size conveys economies of scale, why is the economy not just one big giant firm? What do you need all these different companies for? If I'm making cars and the company supplying me with car seats is profitable, if I bought the company supplying me with car seats, I'd save that profit because now I would have it. Why is the economy not just one big giant firm? And the belief was that you get to a certain size where size works against you, called diseconomies of scale. Also add to that antitrust legislation in the sense that if you get too big, you'll get broken up, right? Who was that? That was Teddy Roosevelt, called the Trust Buster. Well, now one of the issues is not in place anymore. The idea of decreasing returns to scale. With a lot of online businesses, a lot of digital businesses, you actually have increasing returns to scale, that the very next person you add on costs you less and less and less and less, so that your return increases to scale. So with that, in some sectors of the economy, size conveys a benefit, not a negative. So you can almost revisit that argument and say, well, the technology just wasn't around to overcome diseconomies of scale, but now it is. So where is the diseconomy point for these companies? Much, much higher. And if you get too big, you get broken up. Meaning that, is it possible that if the government didn't step in time, you would have one firm that runs the whole economy, that the economy would be just one big giant firm? Would it be possible? Don't know that you'd ever want to find that out, right? Why would you ever want to find that out? Well, what are your thoughts about Windsor-Essex area in terms of tariffs for agriculture and automotive? I think that a lot of companies in Windsor are having long weekend boardroom meetings right now. I think because Windsor is, what do you got? Injection molding, plastic injection. You got mold makers, tool and die. I mean, you got everything. Stamping, everything there. Hundreds of different factories throughout Essex County, Windsor and Essex County. I'm absolutely certain, since the announcement of tariffs, it was war rooms. It was that the lights were on in the boardroom in all of those companies all weekend, and probably till now, on the phone with suppliers, with GM, with Ford, trying to find some, what can we do? How can we move this? Can we suspend this contract? We can't possibly deliver now, or we can't possibly pay. How are we going to split the costs between this? I'm sure that is what's going on in that area right now. So I used to know some people in that business. I imagine they're still in the business, but I don't know them. You lose touch with people over time. There's a couple, I guess, I could reach out to and say, what's going on? What are your thoughts? Theory of tariffs coming into play Tuesday instead of immediately. Well, I've already given my opinion about that. That to me is a tell. There's something there. Why not right away? Why Tuesday? It could be some innocent reason why, but still, it begs the question: why Tuesday? Why Tuesday? My theory is that it gives the longs time to get out of the market on. There's no time to get out. There's no time to get out on Monday with something like this. If this were real and it's going to happen Tuesday, the market opened down 100 points. There's no time to get out. It's already been done. It's already done. No, if anything, it gives the shorts time to cover on the theory that Tuesday's not going to happen, but somebody somewhere is going to make money on this. Somebody somewhere is going to make money. And if Trump now controls the Justice Department and Trump now controls the SEC, who's going to ask any questions? Right? You know, if I had to build a case of circumstantial evidence, there's lots of circumstantial evidence, but I can't prove anything. But circumstantially, it fits. It certainly fits. I don't know. We'll move off in case that guy comes back and confuses me, accuses me of being conspiratorial again. GM is going to tank. No, well, GM's not going to go up in price. GM's not going to open up $2. I'll tell you that much. More than likely, GM's going to take a hit, a bigger hit than Ford on a percentage basis, but GM's going to take a hit. Tesla's probably going to take a hit as well, because it's not as if they don't get stuff from Mexico and Canada as well. They do. It's not as if they get nothing. It's not as if they're 100% built in America. They're assembled in America, but they're not 100% built. Not all the parts come from America, so they're going to get hit too. Thoughts on Canadian housing market trajectory? That's a tough one, because what have we got? We got zero population growth. You've got regulation in so many places of what you can build. It's still a long haul, even in this area here, even down here. If you buy because I was looking into, there's a builder down here, I was looking into financing. You pick a lot, $5 million for 25 acres that you could pick up, and then you could subdivide that. You think 25 acres. And he says, whoa, hang on a second. You know, preparing you for how long it's going to take. He says, first, you got to get the ministry down here, and they got to count the trees. And they'll tell you what trees you can cut down and what trees you can't. You got to wait for that. Then you've got to get somebody down here to check the property for standing water. God forbid there's standing water on the property, because that's a natural wetland. Can't touch that. Can't touch that. Now you're going to lose 30% on your road, so you need a plan. Then you got to service the lot. It's 2 years before you're ready to build. It'll be about 2 years. By the time you wait and you get all your approvals, it'll be about 2 years. The worst is the standing water, because you can't touch it. It's a natural wetland. Can't touch it. Can't cut down certain trees. So you might get irregular lots being where the water. So it's, you know, the regulations it takes and the time it takes to build. Why would you ever do that? Why would I ever do that? No, it's you have that significant cost in front of you. Flat population growth. The stress test on mortgages. I don't know that I'm bullish on Canadian housing market trajectory for 2025, maybe 2026, 2027 for sure. But then again, I don't know. I'm not in the housing market per se. I'm not in touch, because Canada's so big. You have to think about it regionally, not nationally. There is a podcast from on YouTube, 3 Canadians that talk about real estate. I forget the name of it. I've tuned in a few times and I thought, it's pretty good. One's a real estate agent. Another one is I forget. There's 3 of them. I don't know. Maybe somebody knows the title of it. AT&T after Monday earnings had a big beat with all types of upgrades since earnings. Goldman Sachs talk pick for 2025. Isn't that nice? AT&T, just a sleeper stock last year, sitting at 16. It's just been nice. I've not ever been assigned selling puts. I keep selling puts on that thing, and it just keeps performing. And if I see it dip down, it ended at 23 and change, I think. Where are we on AT&T? T finished at 24.02. I see this thing below 23. I will aggressively sell 23 puts on it again, 50, 100 at a time. This is an example, I think, that Bell Canada should look at and say, whatever they're doing, yeah, let's do some of that stuff. Could you see this sending the U.S. into a recession? Any situation where Canada makes friends with China? No, not with China. If Trump's tariffs persist, I wouldn't say with China. I'd say probably more so with Central and South America and Europe and APAC. I don't think that Canada would say, oh, we're not going to do business with China, but I don't know that you'd have a formal trade deal with China. I kind of don't think that that would be a thing. Great haircut. I can't take credit for it. My hairdresser did it. But yeah, it's I feel much better with shorter hair, and every time I keep going back, I keep shortening the amount of time to the next haircut. It used to be like 5 weeks and 4 weeks. Now it's like 3 weeks. I think is just the right amount of time for it. All right, we'll scroll to the bottom. We'll read some of the newer comments. Should Canada work towards building a better relationship with China? I think we already read that. I don't know. I don't think so. No reason for Canada to have an antagonistic relationship with China except companies in the US. China and Canada don't have a good relationship. There have been some accusations of Chinese influence in elections, Chinese influence over certain elected officials. So, being that they have shown themselves willing to attempt to engineer the outcome of elections or attempt to engineer something in Canada. Also, there was some issue. I can't remember all the details about Chinese nationals attempting to intimidate individuals who had left China, now living in Canada, and to intimidate them and threatening them about their family back in China. And so it's, yeah, I don't know so much that they're a good friend in that sense. Podcast is Loonie Hour. Loonie Hour, there you go, the Loonie Hour. That's a good one. If you're interested in a good perspective on the housing market, I'll leave it to them. Loonie Hour. Yeah. How important is learning economic history or economic schools of thought? Okay, so economics was really not meant to describe reality. That's not the point of it. It was meant, and listen, the system that you want can be created such that you can look at different schools of thought and say, well, this school says this school says that, but you got to pick one. You got to pick some kind of economic structure. What economic theory helps you with is simplifying the complexity of an economy such that you can make policy along broad lines that tends to work in a certain way, depending on what your belief system is, depending on how you view the world. So if you're a Keynesian, there are certain tendencies that you can use to work with that help inform policy. If you're Austrian, it's a different set, but you're expecting a different outcome and you have a different ideology of the role of government in an economy. None of them are either right or wrong. It's in execution that makes them good or failures. So it's helpful, not so much for waging a revolution against the system. That never works. But in understanding what policies would get you what outcomes and what trade-offs would be involved in getting those outcomes, because everything has a trade-off. All systems have a trade-off. All systems have corruption. All systems have free riders. They're just in different places. That's all. And all systems will have greed, corruption, crime. They're just in different places, committed by different people, based on opportunity. That's all it is. So I don't know that I would say that one system is any better than another system. What you can say is that any system can be managed well or managed poorly. But you cannot judge a system by its negative outcomes, because they all have negative outcomes. They all have negative outcomes. You have to judge it by its positive outcomes and the extent to which the positive outcomes outweigh the negative outcomes. But to point out capitalism, oh, well, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. Yeah, but look at all the others. I mean, look at any other system. If all you want to point out is problems, there's no shortage of problems in the history of the world of any economic system ever. There's never been a perfect economic system ever. The perfection lies in the, I'd say, the efficiency of the trade-off. Is if you can trade off and collectively move up, even though some individuals move down. No other system in the world other than human created systems have that capability. And not every system has the ability to move upwards. Some only have the ability to move downwards. Is it important? I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time with it because I have to live in the world that is, not in the world that I wish, right? And you have to make your way in the world that is. So you can spend your time thinking about the perfect form, or you can spend your time thinking about the reality in which we live in. And if you're going to be successful, you must navigate the world as it is. Now, there's nothing wrong with thinking about a world that could be. Every society needs dreamers, but not too many dreamers, and you can't spend all your time in a dream state. If you want to be successful, you must be successful given the economy that you have, given what you have in front of you. So I don't know that there's a lot of value in thinking about the world as it could be. But if you are interested deeply in the intellectual pursuit of it, in the academic pursuit of it, then yeah, if you are going to be an academic in that space, or a researcher in that space, or a thought leader in that space, then yes, you better be aware of all of these things. But if you're going to be a practitioner, I don't know so much that it could be like this is going to be very useful. It could be like this, yeah, but it's not. So there you go. We should all get along. Yeah, but we don't. So, you can spend your day lamenting that we're not perfect, or you can get on with things and saying there's imperfection, and my job is to navigate the imperfection and recognize that it exists without any value judgment. I think it's easier just to do it that way. Which period of time most looks like today in economics and political terms? I'm not that big of a historian beyond the 20th century. So, I mean, it's not like I can say, you know what, Portugal, 1383. It was a sunny evening. And I remember, I don't know enough about history to say what it looks like And I mean, you can say shades of Nixon, maybe shades of Reagan, maybe shades of Hitler. I know that's a hard word to say sometimes, but let's just remember, like, the world still respected that guy in 33, 34, 35. I think he was Time Man of the Year one year. Chamberlain met with him, said, "This is a man we can do business with." The evil hadn't shown up yet. Strengthened the union, instituted the 8-hour workday, strengthened safety standards, lowered prices, brought Germany back from disrespect and ill repute to be a respected manufacturing center by 38. If it had stopped there, Bernie Sanders would be holding him up as a model of what leadership looks like if it had stopped there. So what does this look like now? Well, it could look like a whole bunch of things, right? So I don't know that I would say it looks like this or it looks like that or it looks like this at this point in time. What are the ingredients? You have a person who has put people in place who values loyalty above all else, loyalty to Trump before loyalty to the party, before loyalty to the Constitution. You have a president who doesn't seem to think that there's a Congress, that they even matter at this point. It's just him. That's not usually the ingredients for benevolent leadership. Usually not the ingredients for that. So you could say there are warning flags up right now, but people said that about Reagan. People said that about Nixon. Oh, there are warning flags. Well, Nixon, that didn't work out too well for Nixon, but I don't know. I think it's too early for determining whether or not he is like this person or this person or this person. A couple of things that I'm pretty sure of. He doesn't share the stage. He wins at everything. Whether he wins at it or not, he'll say he won. If he loses, it was rigged. He wants to be a king. He wants to be a dictator. He doesn't want to answer to anybody, and he doesn't want to ask anybody to help him. If he wants something to happen, he wants it to happen. He doesn't want Congress to decide whether he wants to be the dictator. He wants to be the boss. Period. And I think he learned from Trump 1.0 how to be a better dictator within a democracy. So you do have, I think, all the ingredients of a dictatorship within a democracy. Whether Congress will get a backbone or not is yet to be seen. I think you have somebody who has half the right ideas. I think half the right ideas, but because of a lack of care about the means needing to justify the end, they don't. Only the end justifies itself. All means justify the end. That's what I have a problem with. That's like, I get what you're doing, but there are many roads to Rome. Must you take this one? Like, must it be this way? There are other ways. Anybody can win with brute force. Win without breaking things. Win by making everybody happy. Win by making everyone around you think they've won as well. That's winning. That's leadership. Can't you engineer that? Can't you find a win-win? No. Not in his calculus. There is no win-win. A win-win to him is a loss. Win, lose. You must lose. It's not enough for him to win. You must lose. And the bigger you lose, the better it is. The bigger you lose, the better it is. Why? That to me seems just small and petty, but it's ego above all, right? Now, that being said, I will say this. I would rather live under a Trump dictatorship than liberal wokeness like we have in Canada with Trudeau. If I had to pick, become a 51st state or another 5 years with Trudeau, and if I had to stay here, it wouldn't even be a consideration. It's like, I'll go with the other guy. I'll go with the other guy. I know that some of you don't want to hear that, but there is losing like we're doing in Canada, but losing with superiority, by thinking that you're so superior that you're better than anybody else, and with virtue signaling and this air of superiority. And then there's winning by not always the best way. I'll take winning by not always the best way over losing with superiority. Hands down, I'd take that. I think most people would, right? Seems like you don't fundamentally believe in liberal democracy. I want to, I really do, but I feel democracy is broken. And I think that the electorate has abdicated their responsibility to elect qualified people. We now just elect popular people. The more popular are, the more votes you get. And liberalism today is not what liberalism was 30 years ago. Liberalism now is a parody of itself. It's almost a joke of itself. It's abandoned almost all common sense in both social and economic circles. It's abandoned almost all common sense. So I cannot be liberal by today's liberal standards. And democracy has me worried because it is populism after populism after populism. And it's all about popularity. And we don't have elections. We have popularity contests. Let's be honest. These are popularity contests. We don't really have elections anymore, right? You got some people who will vote their colors no matter what. In the next election, there are some people who will still vote liberal in Canada. After all of this, that still vote liberal. Even if Trudeau was running, he'd still get some votes. Why? Because people vote their colors no matter what. I think it's broken. It needs to be fixed. How do you fix it? I don't know. You have to make ability fashionable again. You have to make it fashionable, and empty platitudes. You have to get rid of those, because anybody will clap at an empty platitude, but it doesn't get you anywhere. A 51st state thing makes no sense. I agree. It makes no sense at all. Social systems are income. I mean, if you think about, it's sort of like creating a Eurozone. Besides, why would you want a state that's so heavily indebted and that is more than likely to vote Democrat and is the size of California? The Republicans would never win another election. Why would you even want to take the chance? Why would you even want to take the chance? I mean, you're basically putting a nail in your own coffin if you do that. You'd never win again, because now you'd have two Californias that you can't win. Why would you ever do that? It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense of why would you want to assume this level of debt? Doesn't make any sense. It's for, national security. Yeah, but if you had Canada, now you're sharing a border with Russia on the other side of the Arctic. At least with Canada, you got a buffer zone. If they're going to invade over the North Pole, they're going to hit Canada first. I mean, you at least have a buffer zone. It doesn't make any sense, but Trump wants to be a Caesar. He has this manifest destiny in his mind, and whoever put it there, it's now taken root. Now he sees himself as the next face on Mount McKinley, and that's what he wants to be. It is Mount McKinley, right? Mount Rushmore, Mount McKinley, Mount Rushmore. He wants to be the fifth face on Mount Rushmore. Do you think Mark Carney got a shot? No. Oh, I think he in the liberal race, he's got a shot. I think he'll probably be the next leader of the Liberal Party, but I don't think he can win. No, there's too much damage done to that party. There's just too much damage done. Isn't this an issue with civic competency and general education as opposed to the government itself? Well, the government will be a reflection of the population, and if the population is populist, your government will be, because that'll be the way that you win is populist policies. Your government will adopt the policies that get them the votes, and that will eventually train the population to vote a certain way. So it is, think about it as co-evolutionary between predator and prey in this one. See how quick these countries bend the knee when they get threatened with tariffs. They know how dependent their countries are on access to the American market. You don't think Canada could benefit from strong economy? Of course it could. Lower taxes? Of course it could. And the army of the U.S.? We already have the army of the U.S. If Canada gets invaded, what do you think the army of the U.S. is going to do? Right? So we are G7. Could we benefit from lower taxes? Sure, but what do we need you guys for lower taxes? I mean, if I move to the U.S., I get lower taxes, but I pay $20,000 a year for healthcare. Trade-offs. And I live in a milieu with a lot of guns, where my probability of being shot innocently in a mall, in a parking lot somewhere, is much higher than it is in Canada, much higher than it is in Costa Rica too. I'm safer in Costa Rica, even on the coast where the drug trade happens. I'm safer over there than I am in the average school in the US. Safer over there. I got to give that up. Right? So there are certain constitutional elements that I think make sense for Americans, but don't make sense for Canadians. Culturally, it would be like Chrysler and Mercedes merging. While economically it made a lot of sense, those two cultures didn't fit. The German culture and the American culture didn't fit at all. Mercedes was more than happy to get rid of Chrysler after that. The cultural shock at this point would be very, very difficult. If we were still in the pioneering stage, yeah, that would make a lot of sense, but not now. Not now. We may share a common pop culture, but we don't share a common economic and political culture. It would be difficult. It would be messy and difficult. And I think it's better this way. We're no threat to Americans. Americans are no threat to Canadians. We don't worry that you're going to come piling across the border and invade us yet. At least I don't think so. I just don't understand the reason for it. There are trade-offs that I don't think most Canadians care to make, and it is an identity. There is some pride. Now, why don't you become the 13th province? I mean, if you really think that we'd be stronger together, why not just become a province of Canada? Right? I mean, you are advocating that we would be stronger together. Okay, fine. Become a province of Canada. we can open that conversation. It's the same result, right? It would be the same result. Would you be comfortable being a province of Canada? It would get money out of your politics. It would shorten your election cycle to 6 weeks instead of 2 years, right? It would get a lot of guns off the street. Your school shootings would drop significantly. Why not just become a province? You're in here saying that there could be some significant benefits. Come on in. We can talk about that if you want to be a province of Canada. I'm sure you'd probably feel that your American identity would be threatened by that, saying, oh, no. But by asking us to be a state, it's the same outcome, except you're asking Canadians to give up an identity that they identify with because you don't want to. If it's the same outcome, give up your American identity and just join Canada. Probably not, right? Can you see the perspective? Not the perception, but the perspective. If you look at it from the other way, same outcome, same end, but I think you get it, right? All right, let's see if there's anything. Oh, this is a good one. How is your experience on Truth Social? I don't say anything. I mean, I don't say. I comment zero. By the way, how can you read? Like I got Donald Trump's comments up here, and the one for the announcement of the tariffs. There's a whole bunch of comments, but when I click on it, it only opens a window for me to comment. I can't read any of those comments, but if I click on the retruths, I can see everyone who's retruthed. If I click on the likes, the hearts, I can see everyone who's hearted. But when I click on the comments, can't see a bloody thing. I searched for it online. I watched a video and it said something about comments where you click on it. And I thought, is there a difference between being in the US and being in Canada, that if you're in Canada, you can't see anything, but only in the US do you have all of the permissions? Maybe it has something to do with that. But if you just scroll through the feed, it's crazy town. It's crazy town. Freaking crazy town. It's entertaining, some of the things that they say, but it's just crazy town. Discord when we need the Discord prior to March. Yes, I have. I'm interviewing somebody on Monday that has experience with Discord to start setting it up, and from there I can verify certain people myself. But the server's set up. It's just not all the channels and all the permissions are set up. I was waiting for IT to get on that, but I think they're busy, so I'm just going to go ahead and hire somebody myself and get it done, because I think on my side, it's going to be more of a full-time job, but I'll be able to communicate a lot better than with YouTube and just this thing going by. So 1930s, 1940s, Smoot-Hawley Act kind of repercussions. Well, I'm not too familiar with that period of time, so I can't really comment on it. EU is a mess. Germany is not doing very well. We have 3 states with bigger GDPs than Canada. LOL. Why is that funny? Why do you find that funny? I don't get that. Does that make you feel better about yourself? Your GDP is not bigger. I mean, if you say my income is bigger, my education is more, then you can LOL to anyone you want. But by pointing out, look, those other people are more successful than the people you have, LOL. Well, seriously? That's what you got? Come on, man. Rise. Puerto Rico, 11th. Puerto Rico, 11th. We have 10 provinces, 3 territories now. I don't know that would be willing to make the U.S. a full province, but we could start you off as a territory, see how it works out. If it works out, maybe maybe make you a province. Maybe, I don't know. We could talk about it, right? If you feel that would be stronger as one, we could start you as a territory. You should consider self-employing subscribers as Discord moderators. I will. I will. Rivian worth a look. I don't know. Oh, by the way, what time is it here? 8:07. Let's have a look. IWM down to 218. I might cover some of that. TLT up 36. GM. Oh, man. What do you think? What do you think on GM? Down 329, 46.17. That's a wipeout. 6.65. Ford down 3.17. I figured GM would hurt more. Tesla down 5.4. 22 bucks. Down 22 bucks. MicroStrategy down 30 bucks. 8.75%. Bitcoin down 5%. Bitcoin miners getting hollowed out. Oh, man, is this ugly. Look at GM, 46.17, 46.10. The bid in the ass can't even keep up. 46.10. Yeah, the spread, almost unbelievable. That is not pretty, is it? That is not pretty. Let's have a look at what's going on with NVIDIA down 5.5%. ASML, Broadcom all down. Uber. Why Uber? Well, general market conditions. I guess Uber is going to sell off as well, right? We hear Micron, ugly. Intel. Well, who cares about Intel? Disney. Well, Disney would be down. Yeah, that's Florida. Whew. Man, I figured GM would drop like $3, but yeah, that is a big drop on GM. 329, 6.65. I don't think that's over. How can you go into Tuesday and let this happen? I'm going to lean into this. I am going to lean into this. I'm going to cover some of my IWM short. Thank you for that, IWM. That was a nice down 3.3%. That protected me quite a bit. What's Riot doing? Down 12%, 1048, down $1.40. Mara down $1.52. BitDeer 1632, down 12. The miners suffer a lot, right? Because they have two sources of two hits. They have the Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and that's down 5%. Plus, it's the revenue that they generate gets lower. It's tied right to the price of Bitcoin, but their energy costs don't decrease, so their margins just shrink. MicroStrategy 302. I wish I could have shorted more, because I do think it's a sub $200 stock at this point. GM's problem is the global economy is garbage. Most of Europe is in a recession. But GM doesn't have exposure to Europe. Canada hasn't posted any growth in 2 years. US GDP is all government stimulus. GM doesn't have a problem. GM's earnings are solid. On earnings, they popped like $3 all the way to 59, and they sold off because they didn't have a good response to tariffs. GM doesn't have a problem. GM is more profitable than Tesla, almost 4 times the cash flow of Tesla, a much better lineup of vehicles than Tesla. They're more profitable per car than Tesla, even with a union, more profitable per car than Tesla. If Tesla were smart, they'd buy GM. It would be cheap for them to buy GM, issue some shares, and you'd have Corvette. Now you don't need a new Roadster. Electrify Corvette. You'd have Corvette, right? You'd have Cadillac. You'd have GMC. You'd have a decent-looking pickup truck, for Christ's sake, right? And you'd have internal combustion and a huge source of cash flow, which could fund all sorts of things. Right? GM is, as far as a car company, is as if you think of just Tesla as a car company, GM is a far better company. So what's Apple doing? Down 3%, down $7. Netflix down 12, still really overvalued. Let's pop over here for a second. The REIT's doing okay. O is trade. Oh no, flat. It's not taking a hit. Currencies 21.24 on the peso, 147.26 on the can. Hardly moving. Even stronger on ZB. Is anyone seeing this? Up 0.69 on ZB. ZQ coming back up. Look at that. My short on IWM, my long on ZB, my long on ZQ. I might escape this with a gain. That's nice. Do you think Pierre Poilievre could do a better job at negotiating with Trump? No, not on this one. I think that no matter who was in charge, this 25% would have come. I don't know that. I don't know that it would have made a difference at all. And I think Poilievre would have hit back the same way. You had to hit back. I can't fault Trudeau on his response. And I don't know that anything would have been different if Poilievre would have been in there. I don't know that anything would have been different. Now, I mean, I don't like Trudeau, but there's no point in concocting an outcome which only supports a belief that I have if it's just not founded in reality. I honestly don't think that it would have mattered at all. I don't think that Canada would have escaped anything just because you had a conservative leader. No. I think news about Trump's tariffs over the weekend will prompt investors to shift towards safer assets. That's what they're doing now. Potentially driving up demand for U.S. Treasury bonds. That is what they're doing. I thought money would run to the money market. I am pleasantly surprised that it's going into the long bond and to bonds in general. They're all green. But we have a long way from now till tomorrow morning. And right now, it's not the Americans, right? Americans tend to show up around 6:37, and all bets are off when they show up. Maybe it continues on, or maybe it's something completely different. Why can't I express my opinion on a public platform too? I guess I didn't see the first part of the question. I don't have an answer for you. Is Discord for people who have applied level? It's for a couple of layers. It's meant to be bigger. Hopefully, the CFA community that's with Serify, if we can get it to work the same way that we have Vimeo behind a paywall working for us, which I think we can, then I have no problem turning it over to Serify saying, look, we've set the whole thing up. This thing works. Take it. Let's turn it into something bigger. But yes, the applied level, which is big, it's big. It would be a Reddit, a subreddit, a significant subreddit on its own if I went to Reddit and just did an applied level subreddit. But then anybody could show up. Yeah, it's for the applied level. And then there will be different channels in there depending on what permissions you have. Eventually, I'm going to open it up to not just applied level, but once you go into the Discord, it's like, think of the server as a room, one big room. And from those big rooms, there are these breakout meeting rooms. And you can have permissions to go into those breakout meeting rooms. So a whole bunch of people in the room. Here's an applied level room here. Maybe that's a CFA level 1, a level 2, a level 3. But in the general room, you can let people in, but it will be by invitation, only. It won't be. Typically, when somebody sets up a Discord server, what they want is as many people in there as they possibly can. They want a very popular Discord server. I really don't care about the numbers. I care about the quality of the conversation within there. So if you have, the right people in there that are qualified to engage in the conversation, then you have good conversation that everybody can learn from without having to worry about who's on the other side of that statement. On a public forum, like with YouTube, for example, you have somebody that can place a comment. But how much weight do you give that comment? You don't know. You don't know the gravitas of the person behind that comment, because it could be an 18-year-old that knows nothing, or it could be a PhD researcher. You don't know who's behind that comment. So almost every comment you weight equally, unless it's just ridiculous. I wish that there was some weighting system for comments other than just thumbs up, because thumbs up could just be populist as well. There isn't. So what you can do is just qualify people who can contribute to a conversation. That's all. I mean, it is for the applied level. That's the first part. And, if you don't want to be in the conversation, then don't be in the conversation, right? It's not a public forum. It's private, which requires membership in a club. I think that's fair, right? I think that's fair. Doesn't tariffs put the extra prices on consumers, netting the companies more revenue? No. So let's say that there's a product coming into your country and suddenly there's a tariff on it. The tariff is on the way in, not on the way out of Canada, but on the way into the US. So a company that buys something for $100 pays the Canadian company $100, then pays the US government $30 to bring it in. So the company's total cost is $130. They then have to price it from $130, because the $30 is part of what is called their dead cost. A company's dead cost is the cost of it landing on their floor, and that's collecting all of the charges, insurance, transportation, duties, tariffs along the way. When it lands on your floor, what's your dead cost? And your markup is usually some function of your dead cost, 20%, 30%, 40%. So it will add 30% to the dead, well, maybe not 30% to the dead cost, but it adds 30% to the invoice cost, plus you're still paying all the transportation, insurance, bonding, all that kind of stuff to get it to land on your floor. When the importer sells it, the consumer who buys it pays, because while the importer pays the duty, the consumer still has to buy it in the end. The consumer will pay the higher price on the shelf. So when I sell it for $170, I pay myself back the $30, and I still have my $40 margin that I wanted. But you will pay the $30, right? The American consumer pays the tariff. If you think that it's the other countries paying, you're being lied to. The American consumer pays the tariff. The Canadian company gets their $100. Now, the Canadian company could look at the tariff and say, if I don't lower my price, I'm going to lose business. If the American importer has optionality and says, I don't need to buy it from you, I can buy it from South Korea, I can buy it from India, I can buy it from Australia, I don't need to buy it from you. Now, if that's the case, then the Canadian company may lower their price to help offset the tariff, in which case the Canadian company would be taking less money, but the consumer still pays all of the tariff, still pays it all. The other thing is the Canadian company could easily sell it on a world market somewhere else. This is very common for commodities because they trade at a world price. I don't have to sell it to you. I can sell my silver in any global marketplace. I could sell my gold. I can sell my uranium. I could sell our potash. I can sell. Now, if we hold back potash, that's a significant fertilizer that would be a significant shortage in the U.S. You would expect that crop yields will either go down or you'll have to pay the higher price, which means higher corn, higher wheat, higher soybean prices, which is an input to everything. But it's only fair that if a country is going to institute a tax, its own citizens pay the tax. The U.S. cannot tax a Canadian citizen. They must tax their own residents, much like a Canadian government can't tax an American citizen. They must tax Canadian citizens. So if the U.S. government needs money to pay off its debt and to run the government, it must all come from you somewhere. It must come from you somewhere. Somewhere. This is just one step to getting you to pay your fair share. If you want lower income taxes, you're going to have higher consumption taxes. You know, if you look at Costa Rica, I pay no income tax, but that does not mean I pay no tax. I just put to renew my car for the road again, I paid $1,500. That is called the right to circulate. You pay the government $1,500 for the right to drive on the roads. Why? Because if I have a car, I should contribute to the construction of the roads. If you don't have a car, you should not contribute to the construction of the roads. Simple as that. So it makes it a fairer tax system because you pay for what you use, as opposed to taxing someone who doesn't own a vehicle for some of their income to go towards repairing roads when they don't actually use the roads, when they don't have a car. If you have an electric vehicle in Costa Rica, you don't pay that tax, which is why electric vehicles are more common in Costa Rica. And you go to a mall and there's all these charging stations for your electric vehicle. In that case, in that sense, they're much further ahead because of the way they set up the tax system to incentivize certain things. It's more direct to the activity that you're using, as opposed to just, I pay my income tax and then everything in society, I guess, is just free. A consumption tax, I think, is fair. So this is step one on Americans paying a little bit more in tax. Trump is asking you all to pay a little bit more at the pump for your home, for your heating, for your food, for your avocados, for your timber, for your wheat, for your corn, for your uranium, for everything. He's just asking you to pay a little bit more. The estimate is about $800 per household based on the tariffs. I don't think that's enough income, so you can expect more tariffs to come so that you can pay more. It's time for America to stop being a low-cost nation, and it will become a high-cost nation, like Costa Rica. Costa Rica is expensive, but you don't pay income tax. You pay it in one place, you save it in another, right? All right, where are we on time here? 2:27. I don't think there's much happening now. We seem to be sort of in a holding pattern until we see what happens in the morning. Currencies have not really done anything. They're sort of going sideways, but they're not repairing. Futures, S&P still down 100 points, not really repairing. Gold is pulling back. Nice. I'd like to see that pull back quite a bit. I'd like to get another entry point on that. Chips are not doing well. Energy is doing well. And duration, I am surprised. Duration is doing well, but there we are. I'll answer a couple more questions and we'll go. Please block Yuku. Oh, just ignore them. They go away after a while. Nothing, when they have nothing better to do, this is what they do. So President Trump to hold talks with Canada and Mexico on Monday and discuss tariffs. Really? Why do I not have that on any of my feeds? I got Barron's, Wall Street Journal, Market Watch. I don't have any of that. Let me, well, I hope that doesn't go, I hope they keep it, I wish they keep it quiet for a while, because I really want to take advantage of tomorrow, because I don't think Tuesday is going to be real. 1 hour ago, with tariff signed, Trump warns of pain to come for Americans. This is from your guy. Trump warns of pain for Americans. That's on CNN. President Donald Trump acknowledged what economists, members of Congress, and even some of his own aides in their previous lives, have been saying all along: Americans may find themselves paying the cost. This will be the golden age of America. Will there be some pain? Yes. There you go. All in caps too. Yeah. So, well, I mean, it's your tax. It is going to hurt us. It's going to hurt Mexico. It's going to hurt Canada, but it's not all upside. It's not all rainbows and sunshine for you guys either. You will pay more in your gas tomorrow, and Super Bowl's coming up. Man, guacamole's going to be a bitch. You're going to have to switch to something else. Trump is meeting with Trudeau tomorrow morning. He said it when he got off the plane just now. Well, Forbes breaking. Forbes. I'm so sick of Forbes. Forbes has this warning about Bitcoin doing something. You know, you look at Forbes and you think it's turned into a sensationalist magazine. Well, I would like to join the Discord as an observer. Yeah, there will be. That is one option for if you can't verify your qualifications. You can always just observe, but you can't comment. It's unhealthy and I shouldn't say unhealthy. It's not useful to have a conversation that's taken down by yahoos, right? You look forward to the good conversation. And that's what it's going to be. And that's it, period. I don't want it to be open. It will be, but I do think there's still some value in being able to read, in being able to observe the conversation. And then when you get to a certain level, like level 1 CFA, and you get there and you've shown that you can engage in the conversation because you have some level of understanding without having a little bit of knowledge, but thinking suddenly you know everything. Those are the worst people to have conversations with, because they're unaware of what they don't know and you can't convince them otherwise. This is why you don't get great conversations in YouTube comments. The CFA Reddit has some good ones, but then you get again comments. I've read some of them where a question is asked and their answer is given, and you're reading, going, okay, well, these are wrong answers here. How can you weight them, right? I am looking forward to it. At some point, I'll just to give you a heads up. At some point, the comments on here will end. I'll just turn them off because there'll be no point in commenting here. You'll comment in Discord, and I'll be able to be live as the questions are coming in, answer them as they're coming in. And if I don't understand the question, you can then speak to me. You don't have to type it in. You can actually talk to me directly, and I can get clarification so we can get to an answer. So there's a little bit of back and forth. That becomes interesting. And then half the market outlook will be on YouTube. The other half will be on the website on the free side, so that you can go to markmeldrum.com. You can register for free. And by the way, all of level 1 for 2018 is up there. So if you want to know what it's all about, go and have a look. All of level 1 is up there for free. And in about June, July, half of the market outlook will be on YouTube. The other half will be on the site, again, for free. And then you can comment all you want if you have permission. If your role allows you permission to comment, you can comment in Discord. There's a couple people commenting on here that I can guarantee you will not be commenting. You have, I doubt that you'd qualify. So, anyways, have you ever used a Bloomberg terminal? I have. If you're going to be in the bond in the bond market, it's a must-have. In the equity market, I never found it very useful. Lots of data, lots of information, but lots of data and information I found that I could just get myself. It was an aggregator of a lot of information, but for bonds, yeah, I felt that it was too much money for what I got. I had it for 1 year. Did I want to renew it for another year? I said, it's not worth it. It was, what was it? 26 grand, 28 grand for the year US. I just didn't find it to be worth it. So, struggle. Which sector do I think is going to struggle the most over the next couple of weeks? Discretionary, probably consumer discretionary. Energy, I think, will do okay. Utilities, I think, will do okay. Staples should do okay because, well, they tend to. Healthcare is insensitive to all of this, so I think healthcare will be what healthcare is. Financials, I don't see how this would affect financials very much. If I had to guess, it would be consumer discretionary. Let's have a look at the sectors. Yeah, XLV, XLU, XLE, I think will be okay. XLY, I think, will be the big one that gets hurt. They're down $8 right now, down 3.5%. XHB is down 4.5%, but that's not one of the sectors. That's just housing. XLK down 2.5%. It's not so bad. And the financials down 1.83. I mean, everything is down, but 0.183. XLE is flat, basically flat. XLV down 0.66, which is way outperforming SPY to only be down 0.66. XLP, no trade on XLP right now, but it looks like it would be flat based on the bid and the ask. It looks like it would be flat. It would be flat. So, yeah, I'd say XLY over the next couple of weeks. If you have tariffs, XLY. If you don't, all of this is meaningless. All of this is meaningless, and this will recover and rebound. And it might be enough to kill the conversation of tariffs because, well, you can't threaten and pull and threaten and pull. At some point, you have to pull the trigger or not. So if this is pulled for Tuesday, I would almost think that that's off the table, right? Will Canadian assets manage all of the noise since CAD is the lowest level since 2003? I'm not sure that CAD's going to really affect too much, although energy names in Canada, if this carries through to tomorrow, energy names in Canada are going to suck. I'm looking at Imperial. Finished on Friday down 6.5%. Just on the news on Friday at 96.67. again, me betting that this will all go away. I'd like to see IMO take another, sorry, IMO shareholders out there, but I'm greedy. I'd like to see it take another $6, $7, $8 down under 90. Yeah, I'd pick up some IMO. Yeah, I would. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Anyways, 8:37. I haven't done the gym today because I did my market outlook. Then I had a 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock level 3 exam session, and then the 6 o'clock session. So it's arm day today. So I kind of have to go down there and do it. Okay. I think that's it. I don't see any news from there's Market Watch. I don't see anything from Market Watch, from Barron's, or Wall Street Journal on the meeting tomorrow. I mean, I believe you, but I just haven't seen anything come through. Oh, well, let's see what happens tomorrow. Okay, I will. I'll see you guys. Well, next time would be probably April. I'm back in Costa Rica on the 23rd for 3 weeks. I've got some applied level subscribers coming down for each of the 3 weeks that I'm there. That'll be fun. They'll stay at the house and we'll do some trading. And then I'm back here March 18th, March 19th. So sometime near the end of March, I'll do another live. Maybe I'll do a live from Costa Rica. Maybe we'll do a sunset live from Costa Rica like I did last year. That was always fun, right? We'll do a live, maybe catch a few more forest fires on the mountain. Those who watched the lives last year, remember, I think there was twice where there was a fire because everything dries up. Everything gets really dry. So maybe we'll catch another fire. That'd be really cool. I'll be doing another retreat in Costa Rica in late August, I think. So I'll have more people down in late August. All right, I'm going to end it here. And for some of you in the chat that really just yip, you got nothing better to do with your life? I mean, have you really, really, seriously, I mean, think about what you're doing and the sheer amount of time you're wasting. You're not making any friends. You're not impressing anyone at all. I'm sure most people find you quite unimpressive altogether. Maybe take some time and think about who you want to be. Sorry, I can't even get the words out. Think about, what kind of person you are and who you want to be, because whatever you're doing right now, I can tell you, it's not working for you. It's certainly not working for you. So maybe you want to reevaluate what conversations you want to be in, and maybe you're just in the wrong place. I can highly recommend Truth Social. I think there's a lot more like-minded people for you in Truth Social, but certainly not here. You're just wasting your time, and you're wasting everybody's time, and you're coming across as, well, generally a loser. If that's your intention, job done. But I don't think that's your intention. I think you want to be somebody important. I think you think you are. Maybe act like it, right? Just something to think about there. Maybe your father hasn't given you a good enough talk about the man you want to become. Maybe this is what you need. Anyways, I'm going to go and reflect on your actions. Okay? The rest of you, ciao. And be safe tomorrow. Ciao. Bye.